Oh, that feels good, man.
Hey guys, we got a new balance patch, so I just wanted to give a few opinions on it now that I've had some time to play with it. Quick rundown of the patch. Liang is a lot worse and cannot be played in the same way as he was before. Always train your missiles, lasers, pit bulls, and phantom to deal with Razorback, and most other dominant strategies were nerfed, but are still very viable. Alright, so let's jump right into this. Liang cannot move. Biggest change in the patch. This encourages playing other commanders and rewards better play at the pads since it can no longer work as a get out of jail free card for poor unit management. He can still be used with some success in fortress setups on certain maps, but it seems very difficult to make work now. Next up, Razorback nerfs have made damage more relevant against it and has increased time to kill on missile squads by up to 2 seconds depending on if it's flying over or not. They are now one-shottable by an equal or greater training plus level phantom, and since Liang has less synergy, this means an aggressive playstyle using Jackson to throw away Razorbacks in exchange for infantry kills may work better. Strong Arm may also be acceptable to soak enemy fire and supplement the damage of the Razorback, but Razorback is still strong enough to keep snipers from being meta. Orca Bomber nerfs made Jackson more necessary as a commander to ensure bombs drop directly over the target. The outer ring damage seems significantly reduced, and it's harder to kill Pitbull and Stealth Tanks unless they're mismanaged and end up directly under the bomber. I think it's a good nerf overall. Mammoth Tank had its movement speed dropped to slowest with a price reduction. Mammoth seems to still be powerful on maps where the pads are close like Rorschach or open water, but its slow movement speed makes Jackson or MSV boosts mandatory for it to perform consistently. I find the unit is still very strong if the game is not completely over when it comes out, but the counterplay of ending the game before Mammoth is relevant is significantly more well defined. Zone Troopers had their health and infantry damage lowered, but the health is way more impactful as a change. Rifles can now kill a model from zones in a 1v1, and shocks are completely dominant against them. The change has made it a lot harder to win by just spamming Zone Troopers. You're going to really need to use some support units to back them up. So Grenadiers move fast now, so it's a little bit easier to remove vehicles with them. However, the extra cost has made it a lot harder to get them out safely as your first couple units. So it's kind of a neutral change overall. It might have some good synergy with the Jackson Razorback deck, but I'm really excited to see what people bring to the table as far as deck variety is concerned here. Shatter is going to attack nearly twice as fast, so it's going to be really good at melting rifles and militant squads and getting onto those pads, unlike what it was in the past. It's going to be a little bit worse against missile squads and laser troopers, doing a little bit less damage because now it has to two-shot them. But when you pair it with a rifle, a dog, or a talon, you're going to be able to quickly melt down those missile squads as well. So it's going to be really good with combined arms type strats where you're using like a talon to cover its other weaknesses and reinforce its damage against something that it should be fighting anyway. The unit performs a little bit poorly against heavier infantry, particularly zone troopers and cyborgs, but when boosted it's very devastating even against grenadiers and mutants. I'm very interested to see what types of decks people bring with this thing. Now that it's moving faster, it's going to be a lot easier to reposition it and get it out of harm's way. MSV had its attack speed buff reduced and its HP reduced as well. It's going to make it harder for it to tank, but I don't think this change was super impactful just because MSV is pretty strong on maps where the pads are very close together, and this dynamic's not really changed that much because the boost is still pretty high. But it will perform a little bit worse, particularly on maps where the pads are spread out, and I think this is the fundamental issue with the unit. It's just that it doesn't do well where the pads are spread out and you can't concentrate your units to make that fortress setup. Fnatic's got quite a few nerfs as well, including their buff duration being reduced to 5 seconds and the potency of their buffs being reduced by 20% each. They still feel very viable, but they're not as good as the primary anti-infantry option in your deck because of the boost reduction. So against Chem Warriors, you're going to struggle a lot harder, I believe. Snipers aren't really going to be an issue because Razorback's still being viable, but you're really going to want an extra anti-infantry option in your deck, possibly like Catalyst Gunship, maybe Venom. And the boosts are pretty strong still, but it's going to be harder to maximize the power of the boost without really good positioning because of the lower duration. So you're not going to see stealth tanks constantly on steroids because they're just always boosted. The reload's much faster and they're moving much faster. Laser drone speed is down and lowered harvester and structure damage, so the rushes are a lot less effective and pad flooding is a lot harder to do, so you're not going to see games prolonged. And generally I find that laser drone players typically play tech as well, and their strategy is to use really cheap units to build their economy and stall out the game for a very long time so that their harvesters are getting more money. I think laser drone is still a really good pick with Kane, and I still think it's viable with tech. but they're a little bit less annoying to deal with now. So Catalyst Gunship got some mega buffs, and honestly, it seems busted. I'm kind of a bit worried that we're going to start seeing this unit crop up in Rockworm decks or in Fnatic Stealth Tank decks to supplement the nerfed Fnatic infantry damage. But the faster attack speed means it's going to take fewer hits from lasers, and the faster cloud grenades means bike squads are going to blow up a lot more. And then also, the grenade was made to come out a lot faster at 3.6 seconds. If it attacks normally, it will attack 3 times and then grenade. But if it's boosted, it will attack 2 times, grenade, and then instantly ignite that grenade, exploding it for a ton of damage. So I think a lot of people are going to be very keen to try this. So Kayn, he got a buff, and he's a lot better at removing tanks now. And he does more meaningful damage to tech units, even one-shotting Widows and Wolverines. I don't think he's going to be very meta per se, just because tempo decks such as Seth or bike spam or rifle or infantry squads are going to be very difficult to remove with him still, but he's still going to be a lot better at removing tech at the end of the game, so you're not going to feel as pigeonholed if the tech comes out and you have Kayn to back you up in the end. Phantom had its health increased. That fixes a mirror matchup at -1 level. It's pretty good because it was kind of toxic losing your Phantom for free if you were down 1 level. Its reload time was increased to 8 seconds, and it makes it perform a lot worse against Talon Spam and Hammerhead, but the unit is still very strong. I think it's probably one of the best units on Nod still, but it needs to be micro back when reloading now more than ever. So several tech units had their infantry damage reduced, including the Titan, the Rockworm, the Centurion, and the Kodiak. Now the 2 most important of these, the Centurion and the Kodiak. Just kidding. The Titan and the Rockworm having less infantry damage means missile troops, laser squads are going to be able to take a lot more hits. Titans will take 8 hits to kill missile troops if they don't cleave that squad just right. And Rockworm will take 3 hits, including the Unburrow damage, to kill a missile squad. But mutants will take significantly more hits, being able to take down Rockworm and Titan pretty comfortably, or Grenadiers, or Zone Troopers, or whatever heavy infantry you want to bring to the table. Overall, I believe the patch was a success, and I'm very happy with it. It made a lot of the most dominant strategies weaker without completely invalidating the units, and it opened up more potential for counterplay from less meta decks. The big winners of the patch seem to be Catalyst Gunship, Shade, Inferno, Stealth Tank, Chem Warriors, and Chuggy. Chem Warriors escaping the nerf bat was probably the most regrettable miss of the patch, since it's very easy to pull off base kills using Jade, but I'm pretty hopeful that Catalyst Gunship, Shatter, and Jackson Razorback will help keep that strategy from becoming meta in the long term. Alright guys, that's going to do it for this patch roundup. Go ahead and leave what you think about it down below, and I will catch you on the flip side. Take it easy, and peace.